The Dirty Laundry family is back in the news because of an alleged letter written by Brian Laundrie's mother to her son Brian, apparently before he killed his then girlfriend, Gabby Petito. This letter is very important for the Royal We community because it's going to do a couple of things. Number one, it's going to help you to understand the dynamics of a narcissistic, dysfunctional family. Number two, it's going to open your eyes to the reality of mental and emotional incest that can exist within narcissistic, dysfunctional family dynamics. This is super important for you as you continue on in your life of dating and of trying to find a partner for yourself in this life. Are you able to identify the red flags of not only the person you're dealing with, but can you judge and observe the family background that they come from to determine whether or not you're up against a dysfunctional, incestuous, mentally and emotionally, that is, family dynamic? The reason this is important is because when you enter into a family dynamic like this, the very best that you can hope for is that they will treat you cruelly and poorly, like a second-class citizen. You will be in competition always, as they believe the person you love belongs to them and them only. The worst-case scenario for you is you can end up dead, especially if this family perceives you to be a threat, to take what they believe belongs to them, or if they perceive that you can hurt what belongs to them. Either way, these families are very dangerous. So you have to know how to observe and judge these situations. Let's get into this letter from Brian Laundrie's mother to her son. We're going to break it down together. My name is Kevin, and this is The Royal We. Now, before I continue with this very important letter, I want to let you know that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I do take telephone calls as well as video calls. So if you are currently dating or you're married in a situation where you believe that there is a family dynamic that is dysfunctional, narcissistic, perhaps even mentally and emotionally incestuous, head on down there, schedule some time with me. I'd love to be able to help you to resolve some of these things and to talk about them. All right. In addition to that, I also have a coaching program. My coaching program is live and in person each and every day. The Royal We community is centered around coming together to hold each other accountable, to break the trauma bonds that you may be facing in your life, to help you deconstruct your former ego so that you can start to build a brand new ego, to move into 2023 toxic free. So if you're looking for this community, head on down there, schedule right now. I hope to see you in class. I am here for you. Let's get into this letter right away. To begin with, the letter has been titled Burn After Reading. Now, right away, this says a lot about the Laundrie family. The Dirty Laundrie family likes to shroud itself in secrecy. Now, make no mistake about it, most families out there don't want all of their bad things aired out to the public. There is some form of secrecy, and you don't want to air your dirty laundry or whatever. I get that. But to write a letter that says burn after reading, that's some next level stuff. That's some significant secrecy. That's some psyop stuff. I mean, they're either secret agents in this world, or they're deep, dark, into the rebellious side of things that they don't want anybody to know about. I've received lots of letters from my parents, my father who is narcissistic, my mother who is an alcoholic. Never did I receive a letter that said burn after reading. There's a red flag. Let's see if we can dig into why it says burn after reading. It's going to tell us a lot about that family dynamic. Here's what the letter has to say. This again is from the mother to her son, who killed, then later, his girlfriend. It says, I just want you to remember, I will always love you. And I know you will always love me. You were my boy. Right there, that sounds normal. That sounds like a fine letter from a mother to a son. But that's where the normalcy ends. Because from there, it's going to start to get weird, and then it's just going to continue to get weirder. It goes on to say, you are my boy. Nothing can make me stop loving you. Nothing will or could ever divide us, no matter what we do or where we go or what we say. We will always love each other. At this point, it's honestly hard to tell whether or not this is a letter coming from a mother to a son or from a woman to her lover. It's just filled with nothing can make me stop loving you. Nothing can separate our love. Nothing's gonna change my love for you. You wanna know my love, how much I love you. One thing you can't be sure of. Listen, I'm embarrassed I just sang that song. It just popped into my mind because that's what I think of when I'm reading this. Nothing will or ever could divide us. No matter what we do or where we go or what we say, we're starting to see a slight drip into mental incest. This idea that there is no greater love than the love between or within a family dynamic. That this love comes first. Now, some people might say, I get that. Those would be people on this blood is thicker than water side, which honestly is not right. It's not right. I'm a parent myself, and for those of you who are responsible parents, you know that your responsibility as a parent is to lead, to guide, to teach, and then to release your children. They don't belong to you. The relationship between a mother and the son or a father and their children is not a unification. It's not holy matrimony. It's not a lifelong promise. It's a short-term responsibility from which a child should have enough education to be released, should know enough to then go and form their own family, to be fruitful and to multiply and to move on and to do good things. That is the role of a family. But what we see here is this idea right away of nothing will divide us, nothing comes before us, no matter who you're with, no matter who makes love to you in this life, no matter who gives you their body, that's always going to be secondary. This is first. That's dangerous territory. This is now getting into the mental and emotional incest. It creates this idea within the family dynamic that everything else is secondary. And I've been in this position, by the way, where not love or a marriage certificate or a promise before God was enough to allow me to be treated with mutual respect in a situation or even cared for. I was secondary. And you will be. You'll be treated secondary, like you're a second-class citizen, like you're no more than just an option, and you're expendable. You're like a boyfriend that they're dating. And don't you dare get in the way of their relationship with just number one. Do you see this twisted version? This is a dysfunctional family dynamic. It's called mental and emotional incest, and we're starting to see the beginning of it. It goes on to say, and this is where it gets even weirder. Okay, it goes from weird to weirder. If you're in jail, I will bake a cake with a file in it. If you need to dispose of a body, I will show up with a shovel and garbage bags. Not only is this illegal, what she's talking about here, but now it's taking this idea and this concept of our love is forever no matter what, and now it's turning it into some Bonnie and Clyde nonsense. And this is gang, mafia type stuff. Not only are we lovers, but I'll bury a body for you. I'll break you out of jail. Once again, now it's still hard to determine whether or not you're reading a letter from a mother to her son or if it's from a woman to a lover. I'm Bonnie, you're my Clyde. I love you. Nothing will separate us. If you kill somebody, I'll get bags and help you chop up the body. I will break you out of jail. It's us against the world. And by the way, this is a part of dysfunctional family dynamics that exist like this, where you find mental and emotional incest and narcissistic family dynamics. You will also find a very rebellious nature, a nature that operates a lot like a gang. The family dynamic is more like a gang. All right. Very hard once you're wrapped up in that. You want to be careful. You want to be able to observe the signs of this. Because if you're dealing with the gang, you're dealing with the gang. All right? Goes on to say, if you fly to the moon, I will be watching the skies for your reentry. Now, this is just a side note. I don't know about you, but in my dealings with narcissistically abusive people, they often reference the moon. And I don't know. It's neither here nor there really, but I can recall hearing things like, oh, I love you to the moon and back and blah, blah, blah. They're always using the moon. And to me, it always came across as a stretch. It's almost as if they're trying verbally to prove their love through these impossible words. I'll go to the moon for you. I love you to the moon and back. In this case, the mother writes, if you fly to the moon, I'll be watching the skies for your reentry. Again, it's one of these things that blends into or crosses over into the territory of not a mother talking to a son, but a lover waiting for their lover to return. It goes on to say, if you say you hate my guts, I'll get new guts. Once again, the mother is indicating that no matter what, I'll be whatever I need to be for you. If you hate me, I will change me. All right. She ended this letter to her son by saying nothing can separate us. Not hatred, not hunger, not homelessness, not threats, not even sin, not the thinkable or unthinkable can get between us. Not time, not miles and miles and miles. I love you to the moon and back. Now, that's not part of it. I'm just saying that goes, it's stretching. It's almost as if they have to convince. They're either trying to convince themselves of how much they love the person, or they're trying to convince the other person. Either way, these create hooks into a person's life. This is what mental, emotional incest does. It creates this mentality that there will be no greater love. So you need to know that you're up against this if you are in fact dealing with a dysfunctional narcissistic family. By the way, this mentality is not new. We can see this even in the ancient literature of the Bible. It's shared to us through the story of Jacob. For those of you who know the story of Jacob, he married two daughters of Laban. Laban, who was the father-in-law, chased him down. And when he chased him down, he was ready to, what? Kill him. Why? Because he said, the daughters you married, the women you married are mine. They're not yours. I don't care what promise you made with God. I don't care if you made love to them. I don't care. They're mine. And by the way, that mentality doesn't just stop there. He continued in that story with Jacob to say, not only are the women mine, but because they're mine, that means your children are also mine. Everything you own is mine. This is what you have to be aware of. If you get enmeshed and involved with a dysfunctional narcissistic family dynamic, not only will you be treated like a second-class citizen, but if you have kids, the kids will be theirs too. Why? Well, because the person that you're with belongs to them. Therefore, everything that you have belongs to them in their selfish, sick, delusional minds. Now, obviously, in the story of Jacob, God protected Jacob, not Laban. God stood up for Jacob and said, no, Laban, you touch that person and the promise that he made with me in this new family, and you'll be done. Make no mistake about it, these dysfunctional narcissistic family dynamics that include mental and emotional incest will in fact come to an end. No matter what this mother wrote, going to the moon and back and whatnot, nothing will separate our love. Well, Brian Laundrie committed suicide. So there's a huge separation now. Not only that, but this dysfunctional family dynamic is now facing a lot of serious charges because of this alleged letter that was discovered. Now, it's not over yet. It gets even worse. It says that the letter ended with this: nothing can separate us, not hatred, not hunger, not homelessness, not threats can get between us, not the thinkable or the unthinkable, not time, not miles and miles and miles. She ended it with a Bible verse from Romans 8:38. This is by far one of the most disturbing parts about this. And for a moment, I just want to ask the church, what happened to you? What has gone wrong in the Christian church of today that now allows people within its congregations to, out of one side of their mouth, quote scripture, Romans 8:38, which says, neither life nor death, blessings or curses, on and on, can separate us from the love of Jesus Christ. Out of one side of their mouth, they can say that, and out of the other side of their mouth, they can say, if you kill somebody, I'll help you bag up the body. Church, this is why people are no longer going to your congregations, because your congregations are full right now of psychopaths, sociopaths, people who out of one side of their mouth talk about this love of Jesus, and now the other side of their mouth say, I will break you out of jail and bag up a body for you. This is why I no longer go to non-denominational Christian congregations, because I don't know who I'm sitting next to anymore. Today's modern day church has become a house that allows all this within. And this is why I believe Christians, when I say Christians, I believe true people who are truly striving to live according to the instructions given by Jesus, they are the prime targets, by the way, for narcissists. Narcissists who are within the church already. People who speak out of one side of their mouth how much they love the Lord, the other side of the mouth how they'll bag up a body. Nobody wants to go to church anymore and be around that. I don't. So I'm going to make a video about this as to why Christians are actually the biggest targets of abuse. How the church has failed people who really want to understand and live according to the words of Jesus. Church, I warn you, get yourself together. You better start going through your congregations. I know you're making money, buying nice cars and houses and jets, but at the expense of what? I have no doubt in my mind, since this person quoted scripture, the dirty laundry family, I bet you, was at every Sunday service of their local church. Nobody probably knew that they were sitting next to psychopaths, ready to kill, bag up a body, and break each other out of jail. You think about this for a moment. This is a super important message for the Royal We community. Once again, the responsibility is on you. It's on us to learn how to observe and judge not only somebody you love, but you have to observe and judge the connection that they have with their family. Red flags include this dysfunctional idea that blood is thicker than water, that there's no greater love than the love of that family. As parents, we should all be aware that our responsibility is short-term. My responsibility is to prepare my children to go out and live their own lives. Be aware if you come across a family dynamic that says, no, we're first. I mean, unless they're royalty and you're marrying into royalty, by all means. Right? But if they're not royalty, then watch your back, because it's something else going on, and it's disturbing, and it's incestuous. I'll be here, like I said before, for one-on-one appointments, telephone calls, video calls. It's all available for you. If you're dealing with a family, you're not quite sure what you're up against, you don't know if you should be married, and you don't know how much further you can go, head on down there, schedule some time with me. I'd love to help you resolve this issue. I'll be back with more videos for you right here on The Royal We.